Hello, my name is Susan Wiesner. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. I am a principal faculty specialist at the Maryland Institute for Technology and the Humanities, MIT. I acknowledge that I am speaking to you on traditional lands of the Arapaho, Sioux, Ute, and Cheyenne people in northern Colorado. As Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie reminded us in her 2009 TED Talk, The Danger of a Single Story, show a people as only one thing over and over again, and they become that thing. This was a quote referenced by a Nigerian dancer and instructor at Virginia Commonwealth University, Sinclair Ogaga Emogeni, to begin a long Facebook comment regarding a young boy dancing ballet outside of his home in Nigeria. Sinclair then went on to state, "It is sad to say Nigeria, being the largest African nation by population, has the least cultural dances by an African nation that are recognizable to the world. Why is that? One of the reasons is that when we Nigerians leave our country, we learn how to assimilate, learn so desperately to unlearn our own culture." His comments demonstrate one reason for the DanceDance Annotation Project, or DDA, at MIT, in collaboration with the Laban Barteniev Institute for Movement Studies, LIMS, and the Association for Cultural Equity, ACE. The DDA's high-level goal is to build a trusted video annotation platform for community practitioners, students, and scholars to produce and share new knowledge about the study of human movement. The DDA platform will host videos of dances in an online space where members of origin communities can lead engagements with these materials, annotate videos, and assist in the development of a searchable database. In addition to the annotated movement videos, the data will include contextual materials such as still photos, oral history files, and additional documents supplied by the origin communities and other archives. In order to achieve the ambitious goals for the DDA prototype, our work will operate along three different axes: data publishing, platform development, and community participation. ACE, founded by Alan Lomax, has had a long relationship with LIMS, beginning when Lomax was developing choreometrics and consulted anthropologist Ray Birdwhistle, who suggested that Lomax bring in LIMS founder Irmgard Barteniev to analyze dance movement. While many ethnochoreologists in the 1960s criticized choreometrics for its reductionist approach and decontextualization of culture, the co-development and additional materials collected by the research team, many of which are held at the Library of Congress in the Alan Lomax collection, do remain valid for use by the DDA project. In other words, we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You can see here two examples from the Lomax finding aid showing the materials on choreometrics. Choreometrics codes, then, are incorporated into the first axis of data publishing. Another part of the first DDA axis will be the setting of controlled vocabularies, upon which the platform will be based. Two extant systems will support vocabularies used by observers and annotators. Choreo codes, shown here as part of ACE's Global Jukebox, focus on the body, organization of form and design, relationships of group and dancer to audience, etc. Many of the choreo codes are already in machine-readable form as CSV files, but new codes will be written by Forrestine Pauly, an original Choreometrics team member and LIMS founder and instructor. The Laban Barteniev Movement Analysis, or LBMS vocabulary, is a widely used system for analyzing dance that has its own notation, structure, and semantics, and contains several elements organized into BESS, B-E-S-S. MIT will collaborate with LIMS to include the LBMS using knowledge organization practices drawn from the principles of linked data in order to publish machine and human readable versions of LBMS. These vocabularies will live on the web as static website that will serve as the namespace for the choreo codes and LBMS vocabularies. The third vocabulary will be the addition of folksonomies, input by the community representatives, with agreement for the terminology from their respective communities. It's important to note here that the linking of vocabularies, and thus the data, will of necessity require instruction for and from the community representatives and scholars. So too will the thesaurus require agreement regarding terminology, both among the communities internally and amongst our prototype groups of representatives and scholars. I'm going to use the LBMS vocabulary to demonstrate possible challenges with vocabularies getting lost in translation. First, as with the choreo codes, the first LBMS element is the body. There are some words and concepts in Chippewa, the Ojibwe language, one of the cultures represented for our prototype, for the body and body parts that directly relate, the body being niño. However, when we get to effort, the E in BES, there aren't always direct translations due to this element being more conceptual. For example, punch, or shown here as thrust, is a strong, quick, direct movement, and it has no equivalent in Ojibwe, while float, a light, sustained, and indirect movement, has many. So too, the basic components of effort, flow, weight, time, and space, are almost non-existent as far as direct synonyms. And you can see that even we, using LBMS, often have contradictions in the terms we choose to use, such as punch or thrust. You can imagine challenges with all four BES elements and their respective components and concepts. Space, not space effort, but space, might be the easiest to translate, as it is based in part on geometric shapes and uses a body-centric focus. But even here, there may be need for discussion. Shape, as an LBMS element, will be more difficult, as the three cultures we are using will have their own distinct conceptualizations for this amalgamation of the first three elements. It may be that the symbology, or notation, will be more important and valuable rather than words per se. For the second access, we will develop a dynamic web platform that allows authorized users to upload and view video content and apply LBMS, choreo codes, and folksonomy annotations to spatial and temporal regions within the video. The platform will be operationalized as a standard dynamic web app using a web publishing framework with a relational database backend that stores and retrieves user annotations. This application will be deployed in the cloud using Amazon Web Services, and video content will be made available using AWS Media Services that stores original video content and generates transcoded video files for multiple devices on Amazon's CloudFront Content Delivery Network, or CDN. As our project partners are located globally, the CDN will help ensure responsiveness of the application in regions of the world and the US with more limited access to data centers that are hosted here. The layering of annotations over video, a critical piece to this web application, will build upon Myth's previous video annotation work, which added SVG layers over video content. Annotation actions will be represented using the International Image Interoperability Framework, or IIIF, extensions for video, which will be stored and retrieved from the database as JSON. Using IIIF will allow the annotations to be portable as data for other systems that need to layer the annotations over the video in programmatic ways. In addition, the application will implement views of annotations that allow agreement between users to be measured using inter-rater reliability statistical methods. These views will be critical for understanding how the vocabulary codes are being applied, will be an essential focal point for conversation between users. The annotation web application will be designed using a mobile-first design process, which prioritizes usability for mobile devices, using features of CSS to respond to larger tablet and desktop displays as needed. Mobile-first design is important for our project because we expect communities of origin to be located in regions around the world outside of North America and Europe, and places where smartphone usage is much more prevalent. Furthermore, we expect the use of mobile phones for video creation and upload to be preferred modes of interaction. The web application will use accessible rich internet applications, or ARIA, attributes to make the application more accessible to people with disabilities who need to use alternate displays. So the third and arguably most important component to this work is a model for community engagement that will allow the data publishing and platform pieces to be iteratively developed, used, and adopted by experts within the communities of origin, as well as movement scholars in the field. For example, using the DDA, a researcher will be able to analyze the relationship of Native American competition dances developed in the mid-20th century to the deeply spiritual dances originating in indigenous communities in the US and Canada, or to demonstrate differences in movement style as a dance changed during colonialization from sacred forms to forms meant for public consumption, such as a temple dance in Sri Lanka, or trace the journey of a dance originating in Africa to remote locations of the African diaspora in the US and world. I should note that we will enable the upload and annotation of at least 2 videos per community to be used for comparisons. To support these examples, our prototype will include the Kandi dance from Sri Lanka, the Inuani dance from Nigeria, as it is now planned, and the fancy shawl dance of the Chippewa Native American tribe. The selection of these particular dances were based on access to and willing commitment from representatives to these communities, their in-depth knowledge of the cultures and dance styles, both historically and currently, as well as the availability of video data. We have received commitments to the project from community representatives Denise K. Lajamodier, Chippewa tribal leader, Sudesh Mantilake, Sri Lankan dancer and professor of dance, and Sinclair Ogaga Emogeni, the Nigerian who dances and teaches in Virginia. All will interact with their dance to ensure their perspectives and needs will be centered. Annotation, metadata development, visual observation, an analysis of various versions of dances, stylistic comparisons, and statistics are all activities that I have been reminded are a very Western way of approaching this, but they will be done. So while movement analysis experts will participate, we will work from the premise that it is the community that owns their dance and their data. And further, they will own the initial research. Indeed, the research ideas mentioned here were all supplied by the representatives themselves. I'm going to show you a very brief film of 3 dances. In order to ensure that technical development is driven by actual research needs, application design will be conducted in iterative cycles that directly involve feedback from the select group of domain experts. Once the initial version of the core platform and data workflow processes are assembled, this core group will be augmented with a wider circle of researchers and practitioners drawn from LIMS, ACE, and the community networks to help build out the core set of annotations. Combining insights from knowledgeable members of the communities themselves with new technological tools will improve the interdisciplinary study of dance and other forms of movement by creating structured data to serve as the basis for well-curated digital resources. And by developing a cadre of experts who can effectively understand how dance reveals nonverbal cues for cross-cultural understanding and diplomacy, we will provide access to historic and cultural information that hopefully can decrease xenophobia and translate some of the details of a dance culture into appreciation for the patterns that connect people to each other and to their history. Thank you.